Hi everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. It's almost Halloween and I am going to be making my Jack Skellington cake. I make this one every year. It does really well. People really like it on all my other platforms. So I thought I would show kind of a more in-depth version of my Jack Skellington cake. Okay, so here we go. I have, first of all, I have pre-made 3 6-inch layers. And I've got one anchored down with some buttercream. I thought it would be fun to do green inside. We'll cut it open at the end and see what it looks like. But I'm gonna do a green vanilla buttercream. Spread this around, try to get it nice and even. I want a fairly thick layer. I'll do a little bit more, just so you can see it when we cut it open. And I'm gonna get my next layer, get eye level, stack it on top. Let's get some more green buttercream. Some lots, I'll probably use all the rest of this. I'm going to get my last cake layer and I'm going to turn that one upside down and place it on the top. Now at this point, just for stability, I don't always do this, but I sometimes will get skewers and poke them all the way down into the cardboard, and that will just keep the cake steady while I do the crumb coat. For the crumb coat, I'm just gonna do white because the outside of this cake is black and white and I don't want to risk getting any green in that white coverage. Crumb coats don't need to look nice. They are just to seal in all the crumbs. That will be our first coat of the buttercream. My son loves Nightmare Before Christmas. I know who the characters are, but I haven't actually sat down and watched it until this year. And I really like it. And he was asking me, do you think it's more Christmas or do you think it's more of a Halloween movie? And our vote was Halloween. I think it is. You can see this is not pretty. It's not supposed to be. We're just covering it all. I'm gonna get my cake comb. And in one pass, this is why I like the skewers, because you have to kind of push hard when you're doing the scrape around, going around the cake. Okay, let's just patch up these holes. I'm gonna pop this in the freezer for a few minutes. All right, we've got this out of the freezer and we're gonna do stripes. Are you ready for the stripes? This is a really hard technique that took me forever to master. I'm just gonna kind of briefly go over it today, but if you want a more in-depth tutorial on how to do stripes, I have an entire video of this technique in my online courses, and you can click on the link below to access all my online courses. Now, you need a specialized cake comb. I'm going to use the narrower stripes rather than the wider. And it's easier if you just, I kind of give it a mark and I'll just kind of go around and vertically mark rather than covering the entire cake with frosting and then trying to scrape off the centers. It's easier to just mark it. This is something I learned. And then we're going to start on the bottom. So I'm going to cover where the marks are. I'm gonna do little stripes of white where those marks are, if that makes sense. I think you'll see as I go around what I'm doing. Doesn't have to be exact, we'll fix it all. You'll see what I'll do later. And nice and thick. You want them nice and thick because they need to fit in these grooves here. And if it's not thick enough, you're gonna be doing a lot of patching. We want to do as little patching as possible. Just makes it easier. Now, scary part, a little bit scary. You're going to get your cake comb and hold it as vertical as possible in the same angle all the way around. It's going to get a lot cleaner than this, I promise. So now we're just going to go around and we're just going to kind of patch it. We're gonna go over kind of all those hollow spots. You can see it did a lot better down at the bottom. I've been cake decorating for about 6 years, and the first time I tried these was about 6 years ago, maybe 5.5. And I thought, oh, that's not too hard, I can do that. And I probably scraped that cake, that darn cake, probably 600 times. And to the point where I was nearly in tears. I nearly put my fist through the whole thing and ended up just starting all over. I just scraped it all off and covered it with a solid color buttercream. I think I probably tried it 10 or 12, maybe 15 times before I got it down. And even now, it's still a little bit of a struggle. Make sure, I made this mistake once, so make sure it's the same. You don't, if I turned this around and tried to do the other side, it's the opposite. See how the groove is up at the top and the part that sticks out is at the bottom. So make sure you do it the same way every time. That's the one. Yay! Woo, we're done. Okay, now you must put this in the freezer for a minimum of 30 minutes. It has got to be rock solid or your stripes will not work. All right, my friends, it's time. It's time to put the actual stripes on. Now, this is something you need to do quickly. So that is why I still have my cake in the freezer until I'm done talking here, because I'm gonna get it and then we're gonna go. Because you want the white stripes that I put on first, you want them to stay as solid for as long as possible, because those are really solid. Then you've got the soft buttercream. When you scrape, you're gonna hopefully just scrape off the soft buttercream and not the white solid stripes. So I've got everything ready to go. I've got my turntable, I've got my black buttercream with just fairly small hole cut in the bottom, and then I've got lots of cake scrapers because I'm gonna wanna go fast, and instead of wiping them off in between, I want a lot of them ready to go. However, if you only have one cake scraper, that's okay. Keep a wet towel nearby so that you can just wipe it off. Okay, we're just gonna pipe those stripes as straight as possible right in the hollows between the white stripes. I'm squeezing quite hard and then going slow because I do want the black to hit the edges of the stripe on either side. Get your first cake scraper. Don't be alarmed at how it looks with the first pass because it's gonna look bad. I'm gonna turn my cake scraper just around, go again, and I'm just gonna keep going. I want a pretty firm pressure on this because you want, get a taller one here. You want to scrape off all that black, and it's gonna take a little bit of muscle here. See, we're getting there. It's gonna stay in like the little inserts there between the white stripes, and then hopefully you're gonna be able to scrape off the white on the outside. Can you see it coming together? Yay! You don't wanna scrape too long if you're very much a perfectionist and you think it needs to be absolutely perfect. The white is eventually gonna get too warm and then it'll start smudging into the black. So pick a front of the cake that looks really good and just stop. Dang, I think that looks, for black and white, which is like the hardest color to do, I think that's pretty darn good. I'm gonna do one last cake comb here. Yes, that looks pretty good. For black and white, that's about as sharp as you can get because it's such a contrast in colors. I'm quite pleased with that. Okay, I'm gonna stick this back in the freezer. When it comes back out, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this top off. The next thing we're going to do is the purple drip. Okay, while that is freezing, we wanna get that black also nice and firm. We are going to make our drip. I like purple because I feel like that's one of the main colors besides black and white on Jack Skellington. First thing I'm gonna do, I have some purple melts here. If you only have white melts and you want to color them, you cannot use liquid gel. It will make the chocolate seize and become very crumbly, and it just will ruin it. I've done it, trust me. You will need an oil-based food coloring. All you need are the melts and a little bit of cream. I'm really good at eyeballing it now, so I don't have a lot there. You can always add more, So start with just a little amount, and I'm going to heat this up in the microwave. It'll heat really fast, so I'm just like 10 seconds. You don't want it to curdle. Just gotta get those last few melts to get all the way melted. Otherwise, they're gonna get stuck in your drip bottle. I found this drip bottle at a craft store. You could also try using like a ketchup mustard bottle that you see in like the grocery store. The openings are a little smaller, so I just like the drip bottle from the craft store. Oh, we're looking good. Looking good. And while that's just melting the last little bit, I'm gonna get a really sharp knife, and I'm just gonna kind of cut the excess off the top. This is so satisfying to do, because it just lifts off in nice clean chunks. Ta-da! Top doesn't need to be perfect because it is going to be covered with the drip, but look at those nice clean edges, lovely. Okay, let's see how this is looking. Here we go. Just gonna hold that drip bottle at about a 45-degree angle. And I'm just gonna squeeze for longer drips, shorter for shorter drips. I don't want this to go too far down the cake, so I'm not letting them drip quite as far, because I want to put some stitching on this cake as well. So I want to leave a lot of that bottom part for the stitching. Once we're done, this technically is going to be covered on the top, but I'm just going to use this all anyway in case anything pokes through. I just want it smooth. And then I'll just get my spatula and smooth it out to the edges, because we are going to put Jack's face on the top. And I promise it's easier than you think. You don't need a template, you don't need a stencil or anything like that. You can draw Jack's face, I promise. Just for fun, because I like to do it. If you weren't gonna put anything on the top, it's really fun to do this swirl where I just bring the palette knife in for a nice pretty effect on the top. Okay, we need to let the drip set before we put the face on. While we're doing that, I'm going to paint the stitching on. I have black buttercream in here with a very small rounded piping tip. And don't be scared, just go freehand with this. You're just gonna pipe some lines. And sometimes I'll do X's. We're just gonna go for it. I just am kind of gonna pipe some squiggly lines, and then I'm gonna do some stitching. And I'm just gonna do that kind of all around the cake. Okay, I like that. I think we're good. All right, while I'm getting my buttercream prepped for the next part, I will put this in the freezer just to make sure that's nice and solid. To prep the buttercream, I already have this black in with this small piping tip, which is great. That's what I'm gonna use. For the white part of the face, I have a grass tip here, and I'm going to put that in my piping bag. Okay, now if you want to sketch out the face first, which is probably a good idea, I will use a toothpick, and then I'll go over it with the frosting. So let me go grab that cake. I'm gonna start with the nose just to make sure it's right in the center, and they're just like two little kind of teardrop nostrils. Like ovals, but one of them's more of a narrow, pointy end. That makes sense. And then Jack's eyes, I always start with the side that's not my dominant side, because it's easier to make it symmetrical on your good side. For me, I'm right-handed. So I'm gonna start with the left, and I'm gonna do kind of a straight line. It's more or less a circle-ish, square-ish. And it comes down. Again, this is all gonna be covered, so play around with it. There, kind of round, kind of straight. Now I can go on the other side, and I can see the left side first of all, so I can make it as symmetrical as possible. Now that I'm pretty happy with my eyes, the mouth is really easy. We're just gonna kind of do a big giant smile that's a little bit crooked. Yeah, just. Now we get our black. And we are going to just outline. Again, start with like your non-dominant side. And I'm going to fill that in. Don't worry if it's not smooth. You'll see why. I just want to get the basic outline of this here. Okay, let's go to the other side. I want to make sure that's symmetrical, and it's not, so now I'm just going to come out wide a little bit more. And I see that this is a little bit rounder. Now at this point, I'll just kind of, you can get a butter knife, you can get the back of a spoon. I'm just going to smooth out the buttercream just a little. Okay, let's do the nostrils. These are easy. And then let's go with the smile. And really easy because we're just going to do stitching. Nice big stitches. Now don't stress if we cover up a little bit of the black. You'll see why. I'm just getting the basic outline so I can go in with my grass tip, and this is the kind of the hand cramp part where you're just going to go around and fill it in. I'll worry about the very edge later. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back over the features with the black again. So it's sitting more on top of the white. But I wanted to do it first so I can see the general outline, and I want the white underneath all of it. I just wanna make sure everything is covered. No purple, so that when I go over it, like I said, you can fix the other parts last time. You just need to round the features to be fully filled in. And if you want, you can just do the outline and then it kind of pops like a cartoon, or you can do the outline and then fill it all the way in again. I'm gonna try both. There, I'm quite happy with that. I'm just gonna kind of perfect it here. Then I'm just gonna go back over with my white and fill in all the areas left. I wanna go all the way around to the edge of the cake, cover that purple just on the top. There is our little Jack. Did you see how I was able to like fix things? Either go back over them, use a toothpick to take them off. It's really easy to, just don't panic don't stress when you're doing buttercream. It's quite forgiving. And then just kind of look it over, and if you see any parts you think need filling in, just go fill them in. But for the most part, we have got our Jack Skellington done. I'm gonna do a nice big piece so we really can see. Ooh, there we go. A little bit of green inside there. That's lots of fun. Let's cut one more slice. Alrighty, shall we take a bite? I'm gonna get some chocolate and some frosting in there. I love chocolate with vanilla frosting, but you could do any kind in there. It doesn't have to be a colored one either. The outside's cute enough. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I know I did. This is one of my favorite characters to make. If you want to sign up for my free workshop and get all my top 10 tips for baking and cake decorating, just click the link below.